Hello everyone, this is Marcel here. Today I'd like to talk to you about red flags and how to recognize and adjust for them. Special thanks to MikeHelp52 for recommending this topic. So a red flag is a signal to you that something bad could be coming. If noticed soon enough, they give you the opportunity to change your behaviors to prevent it or prepare for what is to come. Think of it as driving down the road and seeing one of those deer crossing signs, or walking into an empty building and smelling gas. If you know what these things mean, and you're observant enough to notice them, they can save you a lot of problems in the long term. Red flags can occur with people, or even in relationships. Being able to notice them and recognize what is happening before it actually happens can give you an advantage in almost any scenario. Here's a quick example. At what point in this situation would you see a red flag? So, you're walking down the street, and a stranger walks up and says, "Excuse me, do you know where the bus stop is?" And you tell them, "Well, it's around the corner over there to the left." They say, "Thank you so much. Can I ask you a question?" You reply, "Well, yeah, I suppose." The guy asks, "Who are you going to be voting for this season?" Meanwhile, he's pulling a pamphlet out of his pocket. You reply with answer, "I'm voting for blank." Now, talking to people about politics is fine. The point is it was turned into something you didn't expect. The first warning sign the conversation was changing was when he asked a question to ask a question. If you wanted to avoid it, that would be the opportunity to say, "Well, I'm kind of busy," and walk off. Here's a better example. I like to think of dealing with people, friends, girlfriends, sometimes even family, as if we're sitting by a chessboard, just me and the other person. They're not an opponent until you see them either make a move or notice the pieces are out of place. The first moves played in these games are almost always very subtle and easy to miss. No one is initially threatened by a pawn, but it is a sign they might be going for your king. Recognizing you're in a game is the first step to either walking away or moving your own pieces in defense. Having an open mind and being observant is extremely important when it comes to relationships. For the blue pill men, or guys who are still dating, that are listening now, I'd like to give you some skills on how to confirm if you've seen a red flag and possibly how to deal with a few of them. Now, I'm not coaching anyone to be sneaky. Being able to confirm these things, but still preserve a good relationship if it's there, is important. My first example is a guy's at a party and he sees his girlfriend over talking to another man and she's smiling and having a great time. He doesn't know the man, so he suspects it might be a red flag. The first initial response may be to want to question her or the gentleman, but that's actually not the best move. In order to learn anything, a person must be more clever. He could walk up and just have her introduce him to the guy. If she leaves out the fact that he's a boyfriend, or gets uncomfortable when saying it, that just confirmed that it was a red flag. Here's another example. Let's say that a girlfriend or wife is spending a lot of time on their cell phone, and that's unusual. Perhaps they don't talk about the conversations that they're having, and they normally would. The first response might be to check their phone, or even ask them directly, but that can show an automatic lack of trust and cause problems. An alternative might be for the guy, on a day where she is particularly active on her phone, to let his phone die. Then while he can see her face, ask to see her phone with no explanation. There's a moment when the human mind processes something that a person's emotions leak out. They get kind of a deer in the headlights look. You'll know it if you see it. If she has a panicked expression or automatically starts talking about trust and goes on the defense, maybe resists letting him see it, he just confirmed it as a red flag. Then all he has to do is show her his dead phone and say, "Sorry, I wanted to call mom," or someone. If she just hands it over, but then asks why, he's got a perfect explanation. Here's one more. Say a guy is in a relationship where they don't plan on having any kids, and the woman starts throwing hints about having kids, for example, looking at baby clothes, looking at other people's kids, talking about them. He thinks it's a red flag, and since she handles the birth control, he's worried she might suddenly become pregnant. First response might be to confront her, but that could start a fight and cause problems where there might not be a need for any. Another way would be to pull up an article on vasectomies and point it out to her. Something like that gives the man reproductive control, and if she has a problem with it or tries to talk the idea down, it just got confirmed as a red flag. If there's truly no intent to have children, then why should it matter? Surgeries like that are far less invasive than the female versions of birth control when you consider hormones and the stress and difficulties involved with having her tubes tied. If she agrees to it, all he has to do to back out is mention another article on some new birth control pill they're coming out with for men, and say he might try that one because it doesn't involve surgery. Bringing it all back into perspective here. When dealing with people, it pays to know what they're planning a few moves ahead and recognize problems before they directly affect you. Relationships are one of the most personal and potentially destructive interactions we have with people. Society tends to always favor women in situations where something goes wrong in a relationship, and men's behaviors are much harder scrutinized in regards to those problems. So it's like we're playing that chess game with half the pieces that the woman has. That's why so many of us have gone MGTOW. We are tired of all the mental games involved in what should be a simple relationship. But if a person does choose to be blue pill, they should do it smart. I put a link in the description to an article published by Psychology Today going over some red flags in relationships. I will add more or better ones as I notice them. Many have good tips on how to spot red flags, but rarely do they give you the tools that you need to confirm it. And that's almost more important because if you doubt yourself, then you can't act on what you think you've seen. I hope this video was informative. I welcome any comments on something I might have missed, and if you would like to hear more, like and subscribe.